Okay, the Maimon is very nuanced, to say the least, which is often the nature of the Mugadik Maimarim, and it's not because of the way that it was said it so much, but it's the way that it was reconstructed. It's Mugah, so that's the way it is. All right, pardon?
Is this Maimar available audio?
I don't know. I mean, did I be saying it? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. We should listen to it once as we learned it. It's during the week. It's the Lil Gimel. Desliחות. Definitely available. Okay. So we did Eis Gimel, and he started by saying, to understand all of the above, specifically, to understand the two Pirushim in L'cham and Libi, whether the heart is sent, literally by Hashem, to say Baksha Panai, or the heart is saying it in God's stead, not having been prompted by Hashem. Understand those two in Yonim and the connection to all the things talked about in the Maimah, namely Psari Echzel Eka, it's Dafke in Nashgacha Pratis, and the next point that I mentioned by the Fidiyab's Maimah is that in order for the Midas to be aroused, it has to be the Achon of Merirus, etc. The Rebbe says, V'chulu, so now begins to be Makdim, the following in Yonim, and here's where the Maimah starts in a sense. So you recall that he's Makdim, the teaching of the Magid and the name of the Baal Shem Tov, that every word of the words of davening are addressing three things: creation, neshamas, and alikus. So likewise, bakshu panai, seek my innards, and we explained that this is the avodas atfila. So innards of what? What's engaged here? All three. Gimel pirushim. So what did Rashi say? Rashi said that the heart is speaking either the shlichus or in the stead of Hashem. What's it saying? Bakshu Panai, who's speaking? Eibishter is speaking. So Panai goes on the Eibishter. So therefore, what's the request? Seek the Pnimius of Alikus. Then the Alter Rebbe is Mefarish, that the heart's saying, seek my innards, me. My heart says to me, look into me. So that's the Pnimius of Neshamas. That's the second Pirush. Right? So who's speaking? Baksha Panai, the heart is speaking. The Panai is a Pnimius of the heart. Right? And then, sorry. And the third Pirush, he says, what's the Pnimius of Alikus? Everything is relative. But the Pnimius of Alikus is Atzilus. As he went on to say that the hinder part of Alikus is Asiyah, the left is Yitzira, the right is Bria, and the Panim is Atzilus. That's what we're up to. Dalet. V'hinei, being in the Pandai, now it's where it gets very nuanced. So in the level of Pnimius, B'chol Achas B'chinas Eilon, all of these three levels of Alikus, Neshamas, and creation, Yesh Beis Madreges B'cholas. Each one within Pnimius, there are two levels. We'll see there's going to be a third, but still within the category of two levels. But so far, namely, Pnimius Yesh L'Shaychas L'Chitzonius, there's a Pnimius that is related to externality. And then a Pnimius Mamish Muvdeles Mechitzonius. And then there's the true Pnimius, the actual Pnimius, that is removed and unrelated to the external dimension. Now he will translate that on all three levels, starting with the Eilumus. Yeah? the being in Oilamas, so the respect to Oilamas, we're talking about Atzilos or Lamaylim Atzilos. Atzilos then would be what? A Pnimius, that is, Shaykhus to Chitzonius to creation. And then there's the Pnimius, which is Muvdelas, that's what is higher than Atzilos. Elaboration comes now. Like the Tzemach Tzedek says on this post, Bakshu Panai, Es Panecha Havaya Vakesh, seek my face. So Bakshu Panai is Lahamshich HaChochma. We just said now that Panai is what? There's two things in the pasuk. The pasuk starts off saying, seek my face, but then it concludes with not just your face, but Panecha Havaya. Kind of what we would expect the pasuk to have said, Bakshu Panai, so good, it's Panecha Vakesh, responding accordingly and seeking your panim. But no, clearly there are two levels in the pasuk being hinted to. Explain it to Tzemach Tzedek. Bakshu Panai Lahamshich HaChochma, Stam Panai, Stam Pnimius, is Bimamshich Chochma, that's Atzilus. Chochma dominates Atzilus, the world of Bittul. But then, Vespanecha Havaya Avakesh, Hula Hamshich Haponim Shel Havaya. Here is yet a higher Hamshacha, a higher Avayda, the Pnim of Havaya, and what's that? Higher than Atzilus, namely, Ha'ira is the Arich V'Atik, Keser. On both levels, Ha'ira and Arich and Atik. Further, clear? It's going to be a lot of geography. The next ois or more, just plotting the levels and matching them up, and we've got to get it right. And then we try to understand, and then the avoid. Now, the chilik ben atzilus or the mardim atzilus. So, what's the difference between atzilus, which we are calling pnimius, which is shaychus to chitzonius, and the mardim atzilus is atzilus or machlal daladoilamus. Atzilus is, after all, part of the four oilamus. It's the pnimius of them. But that is, since it's part of the four oilamus, it's a pnimius sheshayich l'chitzonius. A pnimius that's still connected to an external world, which is biyah. We have already bria, yitzira, asiyah, malachim, and so on. So what's higher than atzilos? In other words, the Pnimius, which is muvdal. So that's that's a level that's beyond the world's period, and that is Pnimius muvdal mechitzonius. Okay, so that's the end of the discussion so far about these two levels as they exist within Oilamus. We're clear? Yeah, straightforward. Likewise now, the Shomas Yisrael, Pnimius Alev, which means Ponim da Neshamas, the Pnimius of the Neshamas. They too, here too, Yesh by Dugmas Beis Madreges, able there are accordingly, correspondingly, these two levels. That explains in the Torah the Pnimius Alev Yeshtei Madreges. Pnimius Alev, there are two levels. We've got to get the language straight because it's going to. And that is, one, ha'oras nekudus alev, the illumination of the nekuda of the heart, its illumination, the atzmus nekudus alev, and the essence of the nekuda of the heart, not its illumination. All right, that's a Megillah. Yeah? Continues, Shechitzonius alev humibiyah, the neshama descends through Ishtalshalas. That's where it gets its form, as it were. So the Chitzonius alev is from biyah. Pnimius alev. Now we're talking now. Chitzonius. This is the third level. No, sorry, no. This is the level just mentioned. Shebechitzonius alev humibiyah. Pnimius alev humiatzilus. So the external level of the heart is from biyah, and he goes on to say it responds to and is engaged by the Gili of Alikus that's in Bia, which is Seichel, as it goes on to say, understanding. Pnimiyas Alev Miatzilus, which we just before Chachma is Bittel. No, this corresponds to.
The Aris and the Kudus Alev is part of Pnimiyas Alev, or that's.
One second, that's one second. Hang on, yeah. No. That's what I started saying before, which is correct. We're talking now, before he spoke about Impnimius Gufa, Ha'oris Lekudas Alev, and Atzvus Lekudas Alev. Now when he says Chitzonius, that's a third level.
Pnimius is called both the.
We're going to see in a second. The Chitzonius is, that's already the Lev as corresponds to Biyah. And Pnimius B'chalal belongs to Atzilus. So now we're going to go to Pnimius Gufa and get the two levels, Ha'oris Lekudas Alev and Atzvus Alev.
In your version that you're reading right now, after the introducing Kudus Alev, Atzvus Kudus Alev, the words of the Shtei HaMidrigus in Atzilus.
Yeah, I skipped that?
Yeah.
Oh. That's why we got stuck here. Okay. Let's go back again and get the flow. So there's Horis Nekudus Alev, Atzmus Nekudus Alev. The Shtei HaMadreges Matzilos. Both these levels are Natzilus. Now in the square brackets, the contrast to Chitzonius Alev. Zeh Achili Sheben Chitzonius Alev, the Pnimius Alev, Shechitzonius Alev from Bibiyah, Pnimius Alev Me'atzilus. And then we're going to see in that Gufa two levels. Horis Lekudas Alev and Atzmus Lekudas Alev.
The different than Moishe, that's Atzilus and then higher than Atzilus.
Now we're saying in a.
Both in Atzilus.
Yeah, but before he also said in Atzilus Gufa, there's Atzilus. Keser is still away from Kloli, the Keser of Atzilus. So that's the Pnimius of it. Likewise here. So, but now he's talking about the Chitzonius. Now he's contrasting Chitzonius with Pnimius, and then in Pnimius we have these two levels. So, Chitzonius level Piatam Badas. Chitzonius level, what stirs the external level of the heart is his bonus. Pnimius level of Mali Piatam Badas. But Pnimius level is a level of Iskashus, which is higher than Sech. Why? It matches and corresponds to where the Pnimius level, how it's formed. Bebriya, we just said before that Chitzonius Alev is from Biyah and Pnimius Alev is from Atzilus. Again, what he's saying is the Neshama descends to Ishtalshalus, and that's where it gets its whole structure. So what's Briya? Briya, Yanasogya. Briya is the world of understanding. The mother rests in her nest. So that's the of Bina, mother. And the nest is Briya. Atzilus, B'chlal Chochma. Atzilus is dominated by Chochma, and Damit in Chochma, you learned, right? In the Maimon Maskilim, Yasiru, right? That Maimon, that Damit is in Chochma, L'mayim HaSeichel. The Chochma moment is not grasping it, it's seeing it, so it's hiding Seichel. All to say that Biyah is Chitzonius, Atzilus is Pnimius, and the parallel in the Lev is Chitzonius Alev and Pnimius Alev. But now, we said there's two levels in Pnimius. Hello. So now, identifying that. Sha'oras, Nekudus Alev. What is the lower level? The Pnimius, which is Shaykh, the Chitzonius, Umeatzilus. That's Matzilus. Sheba Pnimius Biyah, which is the Pnimius of Biyah, or Atzilus as it relates to Biyah. So it's called Pnimius because it's the source of Biyah is Pnimius, the source is Atzilus. And here we mean here, again, this is a Pnimius which is Shaykh to Chitzonius. So what would that be? That he calls Ha'oris Nekudus Alev. However, the Atzmus Nekudus Alev from Atzilus Atzma. That's Atzilus itself. Clear? U'kamoishalam. Sorry, speak up a bit.
What does it mean that it's from Biyah or it's from Atzilus in terms of the?
I'm saying the neshama is a chilek lekam yamal mamish mamish. So where does it get? the whole construct of es keiches hanefesh. It's all the descent through ishtalshalos. And depending on the journey, that is what determines the difference between the neshamas atzilus, the neshamas the biyah, neshamas vasiya. I mean, all neshamas descend obviously all the way down through ishtalshalos into the guf. It's whether it's b'derech eslapshos, b'derech ma'ivir. We spoke about this in previous occasions. That's what it means from atzilus and from biyah. Indeed, that's what it's. That's the form. That's the form of the defined structure and makeup of the neshama. Okay, so the last thing he just said now was that the Oris Nekudas Alev refers to Atzilus as it's the Pnimius of Biyah. But the Atmas Nekudas Alev is Atzilus itself. Commercial minor, just like above. What's invested of Atzilus and Biyah is Miliyah Ha'orah. That's why Al Derech Zubah Nishmas Ha'adam, how do we define it? But it's not the raw Nakud of the heart, it's the illumination of the heart. Or reflection of the Nakud of the lev. The Nimtzet comes out, Shahadas Nakudas Alev, what is the Ha'od of Nakudas Alev? That's what's emanating from the Pnimius to the Chitzonius. And once it reaches the Chitzonius Alev, or rather, no, Chitzonius Alev is outright his bonus. Chitzonius Alev corresponds to Biyah. The other is that which is reaching from the Pnimius Alev to the Chitzonius Alev, like Atzilus, as it's invested in Biyah. This could be confusing here. I'm going to get that point clear. Al derech, as he says in brackets, Ahoretz Atzilus b'Biyah. But Atzmus Nekudas Alevu, Pnimius K'moshe b'Mkoimoi, that is the essence of the heart, the way it is in its place, corresponding to Atzilus b'Mkoimoi, as it were, not as Atzilus is a mocha and invested in Biyah. All right? Help me summarize this. So in this paragraph, we got the two levels of Pnimius of both what? Oilemus and the Shamas. So what do you say about B'chlal, it's Atzilus, just like B'chlal, we're talking about the heart, but we're talking about of two levels in Atzilus. B'chlal Atzilus is Pnimius, but in Atzilus Gufa there's two levels, and they are the Pnimius, which is Shaykhah to Chitzonius, and the Pnimius, the fundamental essential Pnimius. The Pnimius of Atzilus, which is Shaykhah to Chitzonius, means Pnimius, Atzilus as it's invested in Biyah, what's Malchus Atzilus. Whereas the Pnimius of Atzilus itself is the other extreme, Chokhmah, which is. No, that's the Pnimius. Right. The first level of Pnimius. And the Pnimius within the Pnimius, that is Atik and Arich.
But Bichlal Atzilus is the Pnimius.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, correct. Bichlal Atzilus is Pnimius, but since it's part of the Dalat Oilimus, it's Shaykhus to.
Right, I'm just saying the division within Atzilus of
it's not, it's really Atzilus Bichlal. That was really with regard to the heart. It's Atzilus Bichlal and Atik and Arich. Why do we call Atzilus Bichlal Shaykhus to Chitzonius? Because it's one of the Dalat Oilimus. That's the end of the day. But then there's the Keser of Atzilus, and that is its Pnimius, which is not Shaykhus to Chitzonius. Yeah.
He's not making a distinction between Arif and Atik. Why doesn't he just say Keser? Why does he say Arif ve'Atik?
I don't know. And he stresses the oidus, I don't know, the plural. I don't know. Panecha Havaya. It's a text that's in my Panecha Havaya. Don't know. Could guess an answer, but I don't know. Okay, so that is in what in the Oilimus. Now let's reconstruct the Pnimius, the two levels of Pnimius in the heart. So he said the chitzonius of that. So first of all, it's chitzonius and pnimius. So the chitzonius of the heart is that's formed by bia. And then there's ha'oros, nekudas halev, and atzmus nekudas halev. So ha'oros, nekudas halev. So he said, chitzonius halev is tam v'das, gamarnu. Pnimius halev is amayim v'tam v'das. However, in the pnimius halev, so the ha'oros, nekudas halev, is Atzilus, as it is the Pnimi, corresponds to Atzilus as the Pnimius of Biyah. That's like we said before, Atzilus is part of the Dalad Eilamus. That's where that matches up. And the Atzmus Nekudas Alev is Atzilus itself. Here's where it gets a little bit, because he's mentioned Chochmah. I really mean here, this is the parallel to Arich and Atik. It's here he concludes it like in Lamaila, because Atzilus should be or Atzilus. Okay, so Atzilus should be means we have to kind of tweak that. Atzilus should be means, as you said before, Atzilus as part of the Dalad Eilamus. That's what Atzilus should be means. And then Atzilus itself is Arik and Arich is Keser. So that is there also with the neshama. So the lev, ha'oros nekudas halev is Atzilus as it's part of the Dalad Eilamus. And atzmus nekudas halev is a pnimius b'mkoymai. That's the pnimius of Atzilus, and that is Arich and Atik. Just a little bit confusing because in the brackets, the second last line, Aderech ha'oros Atzilus b'biyah, talking about Atzilus already in biyah. Just from the context, that seems, the statement that parallels, if things get a parallel, it means, as he said before, Atzilus as it's part of Dalad Eilamus. I just wanted to revisit something here. When he spoke about Chochmah that dominates Atzilus, yeah, that was okay. Chitzonius halev is mamish seichel, whereas Atzilus is higher than seichel. Fine. But that's still Atzilus as it's shaychus of the Dalad Eilamus. All right, so they match up then. Okay, so summary in a couple of sentences. Again, it's very technical and geographical, but you need to understand it. So there's two levels of pnimius in all three inyanim of Alikus, Eilamus, and Neshamis. So if I explain the Eilamus and Neshamis, what's the two levels of pnimius in Eilamus? It's Atzilus and Lamaylim Atzilus. Because Atzilus is a pnimius which is shaychus to chitzonius, because it's part of the Dalad Eilamus, whereas the Mailim Atzilus, Arich and Atik, are muvdal. Likewise, the heart. So there's three levels to the heart, in other words. There's chitzonius halev, that's biyah, that's mamar seichel, that's formed by biyah. And then there's pnimius, then there's ha'oros nekudas halev. Ha'oros nekudas halev is the way the pnimius halev affects the chitzonius halev, like Atzilus is part of the Dalad Eilamus. And then this atzmus nekudas halev, that is the essence of the heart that is completely higher than being even the source for the chitzonius halev, which corresponds to Arich and Atik. L'cha'ura, that's the pshat. Yeah, you agree? Seems so. Okay, so now Likus. I made new copies. You got it, you took it. Okay, basically we're 311 at the bottom. there is a gamba pnimis delikos. It's going to get a little bit confusing because he's going to add now a third level, but it still remains in the category of two. So likewise, in the pnimis delikos, yes, by dugmas beis madreges anal. Also, these two levels within pnimis. For Yuval by Mashakos Betanya, understands by prefacing what he says in Tanya, get us a tshuva. Be'inyan beis Hashem es havaya velikim. So there he says, delikim uchitzonius havaya bepnimis. And we'll say the square brackets right away. Let's skip the square brackets and go back to it. Just get the flow. So we'll first read without the square brackets. So the kim is chitzonius and havayus pnimius. Yalpizeh yesh loimer. The pirush panecha havaya. Right. The pasuk says bakshu panai, and then es panecha havaya avakish. They quoted already before the Tzemach Tzedek with respect to Eilamis. That panecha havaya is chachma. In other words, Atzilus, Panecha Havaya is Arichanatik. Now he's saying, the Pirush Panecha Havaya Etzem Da Havaya Shalamayli Mislapshus Belikim. We're talking about the Pnimis of Havaya, which is higher than its Mislapshus Belikim. Tezesh Havaya Bechlal Ubepnimius. That which we say Havaya in general is Pnimius, not Panecha Havaya, but Havaya Stam or Gam Lachresh Mislapshus Belikim. Even after it's in the slavish delikim, it's still pnimius. But a panecha havaya etzem davai shlemayli mislapshus belikim. Okay, so just concluding here, what are the two levels of in elikus? In havaya gufa is havaya like it's mislavish in elikim. That's stam pnimius. That is bakshu panai, and panecha havaya, the pnimius of havaya is Havaya higher than Mislapshus. Now let's see the square brackets. So having just said that Havaya Likim generally is Pnimius and Chitzonius, so to connect this with the Likutei Torah and Kiseitze there. The Ava Shebechitzonius Alev, we said before that the Chitzonius Alev is stirred by Seichel. So that corresponds to Likim, right? Makes sense. Likim be chitzonius. Likim is a malakal alman, understanding Elikus has invested in creation. But there is bonus, ba'ed. I'm a malak. So the chitzonius alef is stirred by understanding. And you have what's graspable. Eid mamal is understood. It's Hashem's tzvidus, etc., invested in creation. However, he says, if avad rusa the Libi shalamayim mitam v'das. But the heart of the the desire of the heart, which is higher than Tam V'das, Shebepnimius Elev, Nimshach, there he says, that's a connection to Hashem's transcendent level of revelation, generally speaking, are these two levels. Havaya is beyond creation, and Likim is in creation. And that's why, that's why it's Chitzonius, because it's Hashem invested in creation, and hence this level of Shadish La'ava, the Chitzonius, level that would stir correspondingly the external level of the heart that responds to understanding, etc. Ve'er HaSoivev, Havaya Pnimius, and the connection, a relationship. Ve'er HaSoivev, the Pnimius of Elikos, so that stirs the heart on a level beyond Seichel D'Rusa D'Lib. Shadish La'ava, the Pnimius Alev. Clear? Conclusion now, third level in the Likus. So far, Chitzonius of Likus is a Likim. Pnimius of Likus is a Havaya invested in Likim. I'm sorry, Havaya Stam, which is the Pnimius relative to Elikim, is Havaya invested in Likim. And Panecha Havaya is the Pnimius of Shem Havaya, as it is higher than Islapshus. Yeah. Maybe we'll make just a little chart. We should have it in front of us as we go further. We don't get confused as further levels are put on the map here. which is happening right now. So this really was from the Filig Rebbe's Maimed and the other sources brought him, like the Torah and Machzedek, now the Rebbe's Chidush here. Which we said is the Pnimi, is the Havaya, which we said till now, is simply the level of Havaya which is higher than Islapshus Hashem Balikim. So the Rebbe says, a third level. A third level in Pnimius. A fourth level compared to Likim, to Chitzonis, yeah? So it's higher even than Havaya, which is higher than Islapshus and the Likim. Now here, huh? He's going to explain. He's going to explain. First, the square bracket. Now, this idea of what? That in the Pnimius of Havaya, so you have the Pnimius we just identified higher than Islapshus. And yet, within that, there's another level. So this is similar to which is Mevum Makim Acher, B'Pirish HaKosav, Ve'emes Havaya Lo'elam. So the pasuk says, until him, and the truth of Hashem is forever. So what does he say there? The Makim Acher is where? Samach Vav. It's interesting, I don't know if anybody would know why this would be. That sometimes the Rebbe will bring the Makir. In the mind, he will say the Kotetayr. And sometimes he will say also in the Rebbe, Samach Vav. And other times, the Makim Acher. Why not mention the place? Mashiach comes, we'll find out. We'll be relearning all these Memoriam, not only experiencing them, not talking about it, but experiencing it. That all of these in Yonim too, in every detail. Achlal, it says, when a tzaddik speaks, never mind Torah, just even in his conversation, it's all tzidul f'shemus. It's all every word is the various combinations of the Eibishter's names. That's B'chlal in his speech, and much more so in the written word of Torah and in the spoken word of Torah. I have to remember there's a verse in the Rabbi Marash, like there's X amount of words that each Maimon has to say, or letters. It's based on the Zohar, if I'm not mistaken. Parshas Yisro, that Yisro's parsha was added all these words and letters to Torah. This was a higher level within Torah itself that required Yisro Dafka to bring. At any rate, let's not get distracted. So what is he saying? There is, what's Emes Havaya Lo'ila? So there he says in Samach Vav as follows. Gam Shem Havaya Shalamayim Mislapshus Belikim Shem Havaya, which is higher than Shem Belikim, Hu Havaya Stam. That's the level of Havaya Stam. What's the Emes Havaya? He says in Samach Vav, Emes Havaya, which means Hamitis Havaya, the true Pnimius of Havaya, which to begin with is Pnimius, it's the Etzem which is higher than Shem Havaya. Meaning, even higher than Havaya, that's higher than Islapshus. I don't want to oversimplify things, but he's saying there is Kalim, and Etzem. The Kalim is a Likim. The Oyer Pnimius, that's Havaya. And then in between there's the Oyer that's established in the Keli. We're talking about them separating it now. And then there's the Etzem, Atzmus. And that's the Emes Havaya. The Etzem higher than even Shem Havaya, which is Oyer Ein Sof, which is higher totally, Muvdu Lagamri from Keli. Nonetheless, the Emes Havaya is Atzmus. So he's elaborating now. Yuvan Zapia Dua. We should stop here. Let's have a look ahead a little bit. Yeah, so before the elaboration of this, of course, in this Nakuda, so where are we going with here? That even though we said What was the chiddush now? What's the yesh loimer? Achlal, we said in the previous paragraph that chitzonius, that Shem Malikim. Stam pnimius, Hashem Havaya, that it's mislabish Hashem Malikim. And the pnimius, panech Havaya, Hashem Havaya higher than Islapshus. Says the Rebbe, that's also in Yenover. The pnimius of Shem Havaya, which is higher than Islapshus, is the Etzem. That's so far. Okay, again, technical geography, but part of the process. Yeah, we're good. We'll continue Mitzvah Shem tomorrow. Top of the page, yeah, where?
The score back that we skipped and I went back to.
Yeah.
The other thing to suggest that the explaining us in the later, when it comes to explaining us, was on the Mala. And it's when was the later not come from being explained in the Seder.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, correct. It's not the same kind of responsiveness.
That's like last time.
Yeah. That's inside the Richuk.
So it's not inside the Kelim of being out.
Yeah, he was speaking about his bonnet, that's the Ava and Yira, Primis de Yira. Whereas that's more, it's a bit, it's a Hakoda, it's a, there's ideas, Achiv, ideas Ashlila. This Achiv is affirmative understanding, you understand the subject matter, and then you understand that you don't understand. So it is a kind of responsiveness, but it's a recognition of